Hello, folks. Good evening. How are you doing? Hope you've had a great evening so far. Hope the weekend has also been fantastic. Hope your week has been fantastic, not your weekend. And business has been good. There's been a lot of sensational news in the media in recent times, especially when it comes to the investment climate in Nigeria. Loads of misconceptions, loads of misinformation, loads of stuff going around. A lot of people don't understand the direct implications of this stuff. Some do, a lot don't. Now, for the fact that a lot don't, you would expect that, when news is being put into the media, there'll be quite some basic explanation of what's all, this type of terms mean: foreign direct investments, startup funding, things that you would expect, an average business person or somebody who has a few years experience working would understand. But in a lot of cases, that is not the situation. In a lot of cases, it's actually, the exact opposite. It's a case of they read what they see on Twitter and then, they just pick up on it and then bam, they just start to just, continue to spread the news and continue to, make arguments and counter arguments, all sorts of stuff. What you would expect is for people to at least get a little bit of financial education. Now, one of the things that we've always thought about doing on FromARadio.com is trying to break things down into the basics so that people can understand. And that is why we try our best possible to bring on people that could explain things, being, subject matter experts in whatever field that they are, and break it down into the basics that people can understand. Now, yeah, they might be intelligent people, but at the same time, a lot of intelligent people don't know how to talk to the average person who does not understand the complexities or the language of different sectors. Now, ShopRite. A lot of people have made a lot of noise about it. There's been, so much going on in the media that there's a lot of confusion. There's so much noise. We want to cut through that noise tonight. That's why we have, decided to bring on somebody who understands what he's talking about. He's not just, a financial policy analyst or a business policy analyst. He's also an author. He has written 2 books when it comes to the financial aspect of things. He's the author of The ABC of Taxation. He's also the author of Why the Poor Remain Poor. He's also a business owner who has run his own businesses for well over 20 years. So he truly, truly does understand what it is that he's talking about. He's also going to give us a little insight into how this imbroglio between the Ministry of Information in Nigeria and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, why they are at loggerheads, why somebody thinks that the other is hijacking whatever it is that they're doing. Policies, policies, policies. How do these policies affect Nigerians? I'm going to bring into the studio now a good friend of the house. His name is Richard Okojevoh. Hello, Richard.
Good evening, everyone.
How are you doing today, Richard?
I'm fine.
Hope you've had a great week so far. The week
okay.
There's been quite a lot of drama going on in Nigeria when it comes to the business climate. What is happening?
We're going first ShopRite, right?
Well, that seems to be what everybody thinks about. In the immediate, once you talk about business right now, everybody's mind.
Everybody.
How?
What do you say?
How is it affecting everybody?
This retail. Retail affects everybody.
Okay. What I don't understand is this. ShopRite, in this situation, this particular situation that we're talking about, which is the Nigerian, business environment, ShopRite is actually a legacy brand. The actual business, is Retail Supermarkets Nigerian Limited. Retail Supermarkets Nigeria Limited is the actual vehicle that has been registered to run these businesses. ShopRite is the legacy brand behind it, using their brand to drive the sales of this particular venture. Now, 99.9% of the people employed in this venture are Nigerians. The infrastructure is on Nigerian soil. A couple of people have stepped up to the plate. Somebody like Tayo Ayeni, for instance, has stepped up to the plate. He's taking over a large chunk of that retail supermarket, Nigeria Limited. What is the real issue in this case? The fact that the legacy brand is leaving, or what precisely?
I've not had any actual statement about speculating, so I don't know how true that is, so I can't comment on that.
Okay. In terms of the retail supermarkets, Nigeria Limited, or in terms of Tayo Ayeni?
No, in terms of Tayo taking over, I haven't seen any press release from his company or any official statement. I just heard some speculation, so I can't comment on that.
Oh, okay. So it's still speculation as is.
As far as I know, maybe there's a press release out there that I haven't seen.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we haven't seen any press release, as a matter of fact, so far. So we are also asking questions about the speculations. But
like I said, I can't comment on speculations. As a businessman, I think it's wrong. I would rather deal with policy on things we are sure of. So,
yes.
So if we could steer it in that reasons were wrong and stuff, I could talk more freely.
Okay. I don't know. There seems to be something wrong with the connection, but I hope it will improve in a few seconds. Now.
Yes, I see.
Sorry.
Yeah, I see it tripping off. I see it tripping off. It's tripping off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So back to the initial, question, which is 99% of Nigerians, of the staff of ShopRite, quote unquote, are Nigerians. The infrastructure still remains in Nigeria. The supply chain still remains in Nigeria. It is still, a local supply chain. What exactly is the issue?
The issue that direct foreign investment brand is leaving the country, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me start from the very, very beginning of how trade started. Trade is not about sufficiency, right? So when you start talking about the land still being in Nigeria, the staff being in Nigeria, supply chain being in Nigeria, the first hunter-gatherers started out when they moved into husband and farming, started making enough for self-sufficiency. So we've passed the self-sufficiency stage at least 6,000 or 60,000 years ago.
60,000 years
after
ago.
Conquered self-sufficiency. No, I mean, I don't want to get into that. If I said 60,000, it's controversial. I just threw both of them out there so that you can move on.
I understand.
You can move on. I've dealt with both. So
I get
the timelines are not the issue, right? So the moral of the story is self-sufficiency, right? So after they conquered that, if I could grow more than what I have, also what they had, we could have something. So barter started. Do you understand? So
yeah.
And then specialization started, right? Some people concentrated on some crops, some people concentrated on another set of crops, some people made clothes, some people became painters. So when you hear self-sufficiency, I really try and understand what the person is talking about. Self-sufficiency in what? You understand what I mean? So, I mean, we've passed self-sufficiency thousands of years ago. What we are dealing with now is trade, right? So we are in the trade era. So when you talk of self-sufficiency, now there is a model that has worked for about 50,000 years or 70,000 years now. And that model has taken billions of people out of poverty, has had the longest period of peace and prosperity relative to some hotspots and the Cold War that mankind has seen in 6 or 7 years. And that's international global trade, right? Yeah. Now, in that issue of international global trade, a model has worked in which you have mobility of finance. Very, very important. Now, there's contentious issue on mobility of skill set and people, other factors of production, but finance, everybody agrees on. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So we have the dollar standard, right? So the dollar standard has been in effect for about 50 years now, 70 years, depending on your time frame. And the strength of your business transaction is based on the dollar standard. So there's something called foreign investment, right? And that inflow into your country helps preserve your balance of trade, preserve your finances, right? And the more money you can attract into your country, it worked everywhere else, right? Apart from North Korea and Cuba, who for their own reasons, have their own economic model. You understand? But everywhere else in the world, there's a model that works. So when I hear people talk about it's going to be blah, 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 we need to do our own thing, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're saying this thing on an international device that was not made in your... You are using technology that was not made in your country. You are probably on a carrier that is not in your country, using servers that is not in your country. You're using sites that's not in your country. What are you talking about? Why don't you just crawl back into a crib? There's a system that has worked. America attracts foreign investment. America's Cadillac has GM, has Chrysler, has Ford, but they attract investment from BMW, from Mercedes-Benz, from Toyota, from Mazda. The same thing in China, same thing in Russia.
Okay.
The model works. So why do people think you can recreate the wheel in your mind just by words and expect your economy to get better?
Okay, so there have been quite a few questions by, the average man on the streets who doesn't understand what the implications are directly. For some who are also sophisticated investors, they look at this as an opportunity to ride on a wave that has been developed by that legacy brand from the very start. If there is so much confusion around foreign direct investment, how come at this point in time in Nigeria's history, for instance, foreign direct investment is still an issue when you have such a massive market in Nigeria?
We don't have a massive, biggest fallacies. I don't know, bail is free and police is your friend. I can't remember the statistics. I'm trying to look for it, and I have to keep it. Less than 20%, 95% of our deposits are held by 5% of our population. Less than 20% of our population, 20,000 naira in their account. We are the poverty capital of the world. Market size is not by population size, it's by capacity size. We don't have a big market, we have a big population. They are not the same thing.
Oh, wow. So when you have so many foreign companies trying to find their way into Nigeria, what is it that you know that they don't know?
What do you call so many foreign? What's your definition of many?
Well, I have been opportune to interact with quite a few business people, in this part of the world, and they keep talking about Africa, but the Nigerian markets. That's what they keep saying. Africa, but the Nigerian market. So the Nigerian market seems to be more of, an interest to them than Africa in general.
Okay, Baltimore was relegated, right? Right?
Sorry?
I think they won like maybe 20, 15 games. That's a lot, right?
Who's that?
Okay, let me pick a team that you know. Who was the other guy?
Okay, you're going to...
Norwich. Norwich was regulated.
Okay.
Yeah, Norwich was regulated, right? They won games, right? They won a lot of games, right? They drew some games. They got points. It wasn't enough. You understand what I'm saying? It wasn't enough to prevent them from. There is a reason we are the poverty capital of the world. There is a reason. It didn't just happen to those many foreign companies that are coming here. Of course, foreign companies will come here. Foreign companies will go to Afghanistan. Foreign companies will go to Yemen. Companies will go to South Sudan. They will go to Somalia. They are trying to get into, if there's a on the moon, people will go there.
We're losing Richard again. The internet connectivity seems to be messing up. Can you hear me?
Well, it's okay on my end. I can hear you. It's okay on my end.
It just seems to be, a bit icky here. But go ahead. Okay. We're listening.
When you say, of course, foreign companies come in all the time. Foreign companies are investing in, so to speak. There's a friend of, an acquaintance that was letting us know about investment opportunities in South Sudan. There was a picture somebody showed me of the one diagnostic clinic they had. There were people lining up for diagnostic clinic in South Sudan. That's a big business opportunity. But what are the metrics? What are the basic human development index that exist there? What are the ease of doing businesses? Of course, there's a market everywhere. If there are more than two people, there's a market. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so what is the problem in Nigeria, really? What's, there are quite a few
the same problem that ShopRite had is the same problem the new guys are going to have. Basic pot for a population of 200 million people, right?
Okay.
Coming in and coming out. There's a lady, I don't want to give her name, she runs a very essential service that supplies blood and oxygen to hospitals, life-saving. She's trying to get her consignment in for over a month. There's another acquaintance that has his goods destroyed at the port. There's an article of, we have some good investment exports going out with this sesame seeds and cashew. People lost over 300 million worth of goods just because they were stuck at the port. Do you know what 300 million is? The same
so the goods
problem.
are stuck at the port.
Yeah.
The goods are stuck at the port. Is it the customs? Is it the bad roads? Is it the processes at the ports?
All of the above.
Because there seems to be so many moving parts when it comes to, setting up investments, in Nigeria. So many. People have pointed out some of the funniest things you could ever hear about, and one of the funniest things you can ever hear about is actually congestion at the ports in this day, in this day and age. How can you have congestion at Nigerian ports? You have how many ports in Nigeria, but only one seems to be functioning, which is the Yapapa port. You have Calabar, you're supposed to have in Port Harcourt, you're supposed to have in, I can't remember the name of the town, which is in those states. You have in Warri as well. Exactly. So why are we having congestion at the ports? Why is investment in Nigeria so difficult?
I have no idea. That's the truth. I was having a conversation with somebody about the investment condition and asking me my solutions. I wasn't going to have a conversation with him about it because, everybody, that's the truth. Let's stop jerking ourselves up. We can't say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. We need to ask ourselves the same questions every day. Why? Habib, I remember the last time you and I were together in Nigeria. We were on our way to Victoria Island. You were in my car. I was driving you to a friend's place. You saw the trailers lined up for miles and you were screaming in the car and I was angry. What is this? What is this? I was mad. I was like, my friend, if you don't stop this thing, I'll take you back home and drop you. Why are you not born here? You don't know how to behave. Do you understand what I'm saying? You remember that day?
Of course, yeah. Of course, I do. I do.
So, is that normal? Is that normal?
No, we do know that. We do know that a lot of things are not normal in Nigeria. That one is a given. There's no, there's no way around that. But at the same time, practically every country in the world has its own challenges. Some major, some minor. It's just a case of perspective. And it's a case of, experience, personal experience and all that. Now, Nigeria does have a few good parts to it, regardless of what anybody says, especially when it comes to how things, are done in Nigeria. I personally, what I see as the major challenge in Nigeria is not what a lot of people see. And the major problem that I see in Nigeria is human resources. A lot of people don't see that. A lot of people in Nigeria, even though they have degrees, they're actually unemployable. I have been of the opinion that it might be much more beneficial for you to hire somebody who has a high school certificate than to hire somebody who has a university degree in Nigeria. Because the person who has a high school certificate, is still trainable as opposed to the person who has a university degree and feels that they know, but they don't know. And they refuse to acknowledge that they don't know. So there are still some areas that you look at and you're still like, okay, yes, these things can work. But is it a case of the policies that are wrong, or is it a case of things that are so rotten that you just cannot be able to find a solution inside all that rot?
Okay, let me answer best as I can. This argument, when will change or who will bring about change? Is it the people or is it the government? Conversation, I think this morning or yesterday, and I had it with some other people, and it's an ongoing conversation. And the government has tried to push on to the people. I remember when they first came into office, they tried to have this change start with me program, and people shut it down immediately. So there was this discussion. Afterward, the chief of army staff said that we'll have security when we want security, when we are ready for security or something in that line of work. It depends on us. Now, there was a story a friend of mine told me. He was going to do a policy report and a book about it. After the war, the British elites looked at themselves and they asked themselves some questions. The same thing as when elites. I don't know what the French and the Italians did. And we're like, look, we can't continue like this. So they came up with the European Union issue, tried to get integrated through trade and tried to create prosperity for their people. And the British elites looked at basic things. They said, we're going to look at transportation, education, food, housing. And we're going to make sure, and healthcare is cheap, affordable, and just everybody gets it. Everybody lives a decent life. They sat down, they drew up roadmaps, and that's what they work towards. We've not had that conversation yet. When we That's when the change will come. I was watching this documentary on Al Jazeera called The Seven Sisters. And it talked about the seven major companies, Shell, Mobil,
Well, that's Seven Sisters
BP.
Part 1 or Seven Sisters Part 2?
Part 1, I think. I can't remember. It could be any. So let me get this was years ago. This was 5
Yeah.
10
So
years ago.
which of the if you tell me the oil companies that were in the one that you watched, I'll tell you whether it was Part 1 or Part 2.
Shell, Eni, Ajib, Mobil, BP.
Okay. That's Part 1.
Yeah. No, so basic idea was this. This guy had a nationalistic mindset. They were going to make a lot of money. They were going to die rich. There was no doubt about that. But they to secure a sustainable, cheap source of energy for their country and their company. They had this mindset that everybody win. If you study the history of South Korea, it was the same story. We've not had that conversation.
Okay, so let's go back, let's dial it back a bit. Let's go back to the initial question. Mm-hmm. Why do you think ShopRite is pulling out?
Like I said, there's the foreign exchange issue, right? There's the logistics issue. There's the investment climate issue. There's a security issue. I'm not there. I just read a few policy papers before I saw their stock price go up by 10%. I read their report and how they framed our business, their business in Nigeria. We really like to hype ourselves so much. It's good. It's our biggest asset and our biggest failure. You move ahead, but it deludes us to where exactly we are as a people. At least nobody says that whole giant of Africa anymore. That's the start.
Nigeria is not giant of Africa.
Apart from population, okay, yeah, we do well on GDP per capita. What else?
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that what the average person would believe, that once your GDP per capita is good, then I mean, they're rolling.
I don't have indices here. I don't have to start looking on my phone. I don't keep data in my head because if I want to write a policy paper on my laptop, I don't want to start calling. But the basic foundation of growth, of prosperity, is your HDIs, Human Development Index. That is why we are the poverty capital of the world. You can't be the giant of Africa and the poverty capital of the world. You can't be the giant of Africa where your expectancy is lower than Sierra Leone, probably, give or take, by a year or two. Those are the things that matter. Your livelihood, your access to water, education, security. What are the chances of you being killed by your officials? Those things matter.
So Nigeria is not a safe country. A lot of people would accept that, more or less as a fact. But at the same time, some people still see it as an opportunity. The healthcare sector has a lot of challenges, a lot. But in the second quarter of 2020, you had startup funding, to the tune of about $28.4 million. 80% at the very least of that $28.4 million was for health-related tech startups. What does that say?
It is Habib, don't get me wrong, I'm not running it down, just to be realist. There is a market. The same way there is a market in South Sudan. I told you. Do you understand? After I read that report and I watched that video, I called a friend of mine who runs a diagnostic clinic and I discussed it with him. The fact that I am taking my money to Sudan doesn't change the indices of South Sudan. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm just being a businessman. Do you get?
Yes.
There's where people go. It doesn't mean that if you improve the investment climate, you won't get more money. I was reading an article by these guys, the owners of Indomie, on the port they are setting up. And he told this, I can't remember the exact period. He said it took 2 years to get 47 permits that could have been done in 48 days in other countries. Look at that. We don't make time long. 2 years.
2 years to get the permits.
Yes. From 30 different organizations, where in some countries they would have narrowed it down to 2 or 4. Do you understand? People wake up by 4 o'clock to go to work, spend 5 hours in traffic going and coming both ways. How is that not a problem?
But that happens in Tokyo. And Japan is one of the most developed countries in the world.
They spend 7 hours in traffic.
Oh yeah, in Tokyo, traffic is synonymous with Tokyo. Tokyo, you spend 3-4 hours in Tokyo. 90% of the people that you see in cars, in traffic in Tokyo have their laptops open, they're on the phone at the same time, and they are working from inside their vehicle.
But how about the high-speed trains, the trams, and the convenience for people who don't want to use their cars?
It doesn't solve the transportation problem, because one, you have serious congestion in those cities. So the average Japanese, the average Japanese individual lives in a 9 square meter space in Tokyo. The average person, 9 square meters. That's what they live within. That's what they live in. So they have a couch, that turns into a bed at night, kind of situation. If they have a TV at all, in most cases, a lot of them is books that you have, spread everywhere. They're always upscaling to be able to, to meet up to the challenges of survival in that economy. Okay, so there's very little the government can do about it. Everybody complains, but there's no solution. So every country has its unique challenges, but there must be some form of solution, if not a total solution, at least a partial solution. Okay. In Nigeria, it seems we keep fighting over the partial solutions. We are not even going close to, sustainable solutions in the first place.
Fine. The traffic solution, I know there's serious traffic solution in Jakarta. I mean, it's crazy. There's serious traffic solution in Mumbai. Do you understand? You're right. Everybody has their own issues, right? Yeah. But you see, at the end of the day, right, it's just like marriage, right? It's just like raising your kids. It's just like business. It goes with the challenge, but you have to be making some progress so you know where you're going. Right? There's a sense of direction and there's a sense of progress, right? That's it. And then also self-sabotaging yourself at the end of the day, like this whole ease of doing business things, right? There is this, let's give you an example, national ID card. I mean, we know what is involved. We know the stress people go through. Every interaction you seem to have with the government involves stress and extraction. It shouldn't be like that.
Extraction? What do you mean by extraction?
Okay, if you're trying to get an official government document, right? The process is really drawn out. Yes, there's bureaucracy everywhere, but at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is it that we are good at? What is it that outside all our problems, people will still come here? Because if we don't fix that, people are going to get poor, and the more poorer they get, the insecurity is going to increase, and the chances, the windows for money will decrease. Now, $28 million is a lot of money, but in a country of 200 million people or 150, it's chump change. We need 100 times that. It's just like our GDP capacitor. It's like 350, 450, or whatever, depending on the exchange rate you're using to calculate it. But we are like 150, 200 million people. Brazil has almost 4 times that.
Yeah.
So anytime we like to say we have this, you have 28 million. Relative to what? What areas you can work on to increase that? One thing I like about us, right? We celebrate our success. We do a lot of backpatting. You know, there was this oil company that's having their anniversary, and a friend of mine who marketing communication consultant asked me to work on. She asked me to contract it out to somebody to questionnaires. They wanted to do something like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of stuff on the award night. So I gave it out to somebody and I got to overlook the work and all that. But the truth is, looking at our 60 years history, we've really punched below our weight. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
the Nobel Prize here, a Grammy here, 5 under 17 here, couple Olympic gold medals. We look at our athletes, look at our sprinters, look at where they were in the 80s, and look at where Jamaica and Bahamas is now. We can dominate.
Yeah, right. Because all these things have to do with cash injection into those sectors. The lack of cash injection into those sectors means that there can be, adequate development in those sectors. Yeah, you're quite correct.
You really think Jamaica's issue was cash injection? Jamaica, Jamaica has less or more cash injection project than us. Do you know how they make their money? How little they make? It was a deliberate policy, which is what is not there anymore.
So we don't have any policies.
What?
No policies are deliberate.
I mean, what my deliberate policies are, okay, fine. Let me give you examples. 2020, right? It was supposed to take place about now, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Have you seen any article stating our level of preparation? Forget COVID. COVID came beginning of the year. This is a 4-year event. This is where we were, and this is what we're going to achieve.
I'm with you. Go ahead.
I'm asking a question. You're like me, you keep aware. I'm saying, minus COVID, the Olympics would have taken place now, last year.
Yeah.
Did you come across anything that talked about any level of preparation for this Olympics by Nigeria?
I'm not even sure that Nigerians know that the Olympics are coming up. No, you see, I would say that because I know what the state of sports is in Nigeria.
I know. You tried to do some things. I know you tried to do some things. You had lots of ideas. You committed your own quota.
The marketing company that we have, that we're affiliated with, has done quite a bit, in terms of sports marketing and all whatnot. And we know the type of challenges that that they've come across, especially when it comes to participatory funding.
Yeah.
Both from the government and the third parties involved. But I don't want to go into that, on air, because that's not supposed to be, something I'm supposed to disclose, publicly or on air. So I'll leave that for now. But just buttress your point, which is a case of there's a policy gap. Based on that issue of that policy gap, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to ask you one particular thing, that's related to that policy issue that's also affecting the investment climate in Nigeria. And we're talking about the imbroglio between the Ministry of Interior and the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. Viewers will be right back right after this. Hi, folks. If you're just joining us, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Just Banter. And tonight we're actually having a discussion with a very good friend of the house. His name is Richard Okojevoh. And the topic for tonight is the investment climate in Nigeria. We're talking about how testy it is. A lot of people look at it and say, high risk, high return. Some people say too risky. Some people feel it's just a gold mine. But there's always one thing that always come, into question when it comes to the investment climate in Nigeria, and that is the issue of policy. We're going to bring Richard back into the studio now, and we'll continue the conversation where we left off, which was policy. Hello, Richard.
Yeah, hi, what's up?
Coming back. So earlier on, just before the quick break, we spoke up to the point of policy. Now, the Ministry of Information has come up with a policy that, in my opinion, I'm not sure, I'm just trying to figure things out here. In my opinion, it seems that the drive behind the policy is more of an antitrust issue. But for some people, they think that they're actually killing the content creation and content distribution industry in Nigeria.
Oh, are you true? Sorry, is that the question?
Yeah.
Should I talk?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We had this conversation, and then we love this country, and there's a strong nationalistic love for the country. I see it a lot. That's what is playing with this whole ShopRite thing. People are like, we can do it, we don't need anybody. Thing with this content stuff, and then it even happened with the whole Madagascar COVID cure stuff. I mean, what's up good policy not to comment? I just share information. I try not to engage, but so that somebody doesn't go and take something now, kill himself, in case somebody now makes and says, I was able to get the COVID cure from Madagascar, is here, and starts bottling it and selling it. I just felt I'll break from my code of silence on WhatsApp commentary and just actually share with people. At that time, not now that everybody has seen that there was nothing there. But at that time, when the guy started out and that news of the CIA and WHO wants to stop him, you should see how people were so on fire for the whole Madagascar cure. And they really believed. You see, but there is how far belief can take you. There's how far motivational speaking and positive confession can. We have too much of that here. Too much. Now, bringing it back to this whole content, I was happy about sincerity. Your sincerity, because I know you're on a project that has to do with content creation. I know you're working on original reel for one of your subsidiaries. And yes, I know how much time, effort, energy, and resources you have committed to this original development of content and your views on opening doors, everything, blah, blah, blah. And I know one of your companies was affected by this policy, but you still try to see the good in the policy, right? And that was very sincere of you. But I try to make you understand is that this angle, I would advise you to do that as long as a policy like this exists.
But the policy seems more like I said, like it's driven by antitrust.
There's antitrust quote on what is antitrust as something that's competitive. There's no. I don't. When you mean antitrust, I don't think it applies. I don't see the antitrust issue here, right? In content on platforms, you generate something or you buy something that gives you a competitive advantage. People tune in to CNN to watch certain programs, certain people. People tune in to Ebony Lifestyle to watch certain programs and certain people. 70 channels premium. I watch only 5. In a week, I watch between 7 and 11 programs max on premium. Antitrust does not begin to apply to the creative space. It's not the same thing as big tech or big pharma. People in big pharma, they try and give patent period, like 10, 15 years, because they understand if they take that advantage away from you, they say the minute you bring out a drug, you must share the formula, it must be generic. Nobody will invest in making drugs. Nobody. Everyone will just sit and wait. Oh yeah, sure you don't make your own, make a buy from you. That's all. There's a difference between antitrust, anti-capitalism, and then communist socialist policies. It is not an antitrust issue.
So you think this is a communist socialist issue, policy?
I think see, two things. One, you know me, I will never talk about anything I cannot defend in a court of law. So there are various aspects of this policy I will not talk about because I cannot defend it in a court of law, right? But I will only talk about advantages of the content of the policy. And it destroys creativity, plain and simple. Somebody is trying to create a platform like you are, a platform for African, diasporan, international market, you understand? A platform where people can find a home and find a place. You need to drive traffic there. To drive traffic there, you need to have original content that is not available elsewhere.
Yeah, true.
Now, you create this content and you tell them only available on this site. It's there on Amazon. Why would they come to you? So while you go through all this trouble, create content, and then you have to give it to Amazon. There's logic. I'm not even going to talk of the aspect of it. The only beautiful thing about this law, I don't want to say a lot of things on there. I just want to see my war. You understand? Just wait and see.
But you know, this program is just banter, and just banter is about you saying it as it is.
I can't, you know, I don't want to have to pay legal fees. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, are you saying that free speech is there? Or are you saying that you cannot voice your opinion living in a country like Nigeria?
5,000 naira. You didn't hear that they increased it from 500,000 to 5 million.
That's hate speech.
2 days ago.
But that is hate speech.
Why does that now? I'll have to defend the difference between it and that in court now. You know, it was part of the bill that was passed or that was introduced 2 days ago. It's part of it. Part of it's there.
So part of that bill is, you know, directed at free speech, more or less.
Yes.
Okay, so I will still ask a question. You don't necessarily have to answer it, but the question is this: this government rode into, you know, they won the elections, 2 previous elections, using social media. And that was simply because you had free speech. So this their policy, is it anti their own government? Because it seems rather queer that a government that benefited from this will just turn around and then go against the same thing that brought it into power.
Okay, Habib, I'm going to do something, right? I'm going to share, I don't know, how do I share a video to this link?
Okay, you can send the video to us, and then you can send the link to us.
Send it to you on WhatsApp, right?
No, you can. Okay, yes, go ahead.
I'm going to send you WhatsApp, right?
That's the first one.
You can play the video if you want. At least they can't sue me for that one. It's them the ones talking, not me. Okay, in the video, it's a DW. That's the network in Germany. DW.
Yeah.
They're interviewing the Minister of Information and asking him about this, and then listen to the conversation between him and the broadcast journalist, and then let me know what you think.
Okay, so we'll play that. We'll play that clip very shortly, but let's keep talking. So,
Okay.
tell us. Okay, so we'll play that. We'll play that. Okay, folks. So you just give us a minute and let us pick out the content that Richard wants us to.
Internet falsehood.
No, we can keep talking if you want to watch it, whichever one I can go.
No, we will play it on the screen, so that everybody can see what it is that you're talking about, and we can pick it up from there.
Okay.
What about the protection from internet falsehood and manipulations bill, also carrying draconian provisions? Under its terms, journalists could be imprisoned for publishing content.
Who is the author of that bill?
Are you against this bill or not?
I'm not even aware of that bill.
You're not. The protection from internet falsehood and manipulations bill. You're not even aware
I'm not
of
even
it.
aware of it. So it cannot
It's causing an outcry internationally, and you're the Minister of Information, and you know nothing about it.
There's no such bill before the House. I'll say that authoritatively. There's no such bill before the House.
Reporters Without Borders said these bills, talking about the Prohibition of Hate Speech bill and the Protection from Internet Falsehood and Manipulations bill, they said these bills contain extremely harsh penalties that violate international law and are likely to be used to gag the media. And you're saying you know nothing about this.
No, and just the same way they were wrong in saying that the executive submitted the hate speech bill.
So, Richard,
Yeah. What
exactly does that mean?
I can send you a video later on. It's not as easily accessible as the one I just sent it to you now. I said that one was easily accessible because I was having a conversation with somebody about it. There's another video where he's talking about the bill and he's advocating for it. And I can send that to you later. I don't want to keep you waiting, but you'll have it.
So basically, when we look at such policies coming out, these policies, what they basically mean is that there are some types of businesses that you cannot invest in when it relates to Nigeria, more or less.
This is the truth, right? I wish people will understand how it works, right? Investment is gambling. It's a risk, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
What people don't know is that just 3% of the global FDI comes to Africa. 3%. So when we get 28 million and we starting, and they're getting 3 billion in India, we don't know what's up. We're not ready. Do you understand what I'm saying? 3%.
Yeah.
Last year, Ghana, which is about a fifth of our size, got more FDI than we did. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But when you look at it in relation to that population, and you say that India got $3 billion, I mean, what's the population of India?
It's not about what was India getting in the 80s before Singh came in? People keep shouting population. Who was investing in China before then came in? That's the issue. It has more to, if you look at pound for right? Per
Yeah.
capita, you'll probably be looking at probably a better investment climate, pound for pound, minus population. We should stop this whole population thing. We should stop it.
So you have analyzed, some of the problems as is. But we have not actually said this is the problem, and we have not said this is the solution or a possible
The
solution.
solutions are this. We need to ask ourselves, how long do we want to live like this? I watched a video tonight. I can look for it and send to you. Let me give you now. The Tottenham shut down for about 6 months. Everybody asks, why didn't they do that? Or periods we were at home. We had at least 3 months or 2 months or 6 weeks. But that's another question. It has been shut down. Then part of Eco Bridge or Qatar Bridge, I keep mixing them up, is being shut down. So traffic in Lagos right now. But
that's
then,
Eco Bridge, yes.
Yeah, Eco Bridge. Then this is the funny thing. They're still keeping the 10 p.m. curfew. I have a video I can send to you of people they caught outside by 10 p.m. They gathered them like criminals and took them to police station because they were by 10 p.m. in traffic.
Whereas Tottenham Bridge is closed and parts of Eco Bridge are closed.
Yeah, I had a friend that was trying to get home. He was giving us per minute account. He spent 5 hours in traffic, right? Trying to get home, passing various checkpoints, having to do that. When he got home, he had to let everybody know he was safe. PM curfew when you shut down 2 major bridges.
Wow.
There is policy, stupidity, and there is wickedness.
Yeah. So one of our viewers, Adi Ali, says there are many problems in Nigeria. Investors see these problems as opportunities, so they will keep coming. Some will succeed, others won't. There are several moving parts. So she's buttressing your point.
I love this whole aspire to perspire to, and you are the poverty capital of the world. And less than 5% of you earn over 100,000. It's just like a girl saying, I don't know, let me not use that analogy here. Okay. People will always come. People will always come. How many? Is it enough? Is it enough? How many people are you lifting out of poverty? People went to China and they lifted million out of poverty. People went to India and they lifted 200 million out of poverty. How many people have you, all the people that are coming, how many people have you lifted out of poverty? Those are questions. It's not aspire to perspire.
So the FDI, the startup funding, none of it has an impact so far.
It's not, see, listen, this is the truth, You see the stomach, right? If I get down, I do push-ups every day. I come and tell you, oh man, I did push-ups. So how many? There's a certain level of push-ups I need to do to see any impact. It's not about me doing push-ups every day. It's how many? A human being needs to take 600 steps every day to be. A human being needs to sleep a certain amount of sleep to be healthy. You need a certain amount of calories not to lose weight. When you are sleeping, because you're not getting enough nourishment. There's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you are eating, but how much of it is nourishing your body? Yes, you are exercising, but how much of it is enough to bring about a change? Yes, you are moving, but how much of it is necessary just to stay healthy, to keep your liver and your kidney functioning? They are metrics for a reason. Measurement was invented 2,000 years ago or 40 years ago. Let me use the normal, timeline.
Yeah, but Richard, it seems like Nigerians themselves, especially when it comes to lenders in Nigeria, don't have a lot of faith in Nigeria itself. And I'll give you an example. So startup funding, in 2020, Q1 was $55.37 million. In Q2, it was $28.4 million. Only 4.5% of that $28.4 million is by local lenders or local funders.
That's
So
a serious issue.
So if your
Yeah.
local lenders, if your local lenders don't have faith in the local businesses, why should FDI come your way?
You've answered the question you asked me at the very, very beginning. That was the whole question. I mean, this you've answered. That's it. Yes, it is wrong. It's bad. It's everything. But you see, money goes where money gets applied. That's just it. Money is not a sentimental thing. You understand? Money is different from charity. Investment is different from charity or philanthropy. You understand? You look at metrics and you make calculated risk, because sometimes that money you're investing is not yours. You're investing other people's money. It's not sentiments. Now, for the one that comes here, we have to really go and ask ourselves why the whole of Africa is getting 3%. Why? Do you understand? You know, we make all this noise.
That's very, very serious. You know, that's a very, very serious perspective, very deep. And I think, you know, like you correctly said, why? People have to sit back and start to ask themselves, why is that happening? Why do you only have 3% of, you know, that level of funding coming to Africa? One thing I do know for a fact, doing the research that I did about 3 or 4 years ago in business school, found out that, you know, from the research, that the private equity companies in Africa come to Africa with tons of money. You keep hearing about the billions of dollars coming into Africa as private equity. But when you do approach those private equity firms and say, you know, you need funding for your businesses, a lot of them will tell you that they're not doing anything below $10 million. Some will start from $100 million. How many local businesses in Africa actually do $10 million? How much does Dangote do in a year? So if you convert Dangote's, you know, profits and all whatnot, its turnover in a year, you convert it into dollars, how much does it come to? Labor is cheap on the African continent,
okay.
And so are the resources. So if we look at it from the point of view of the percentage of funding that is coming to Africa, could it also be that because there's no knowledge transfer, those funds are actually not worth being in an African business environment?
There is our informal market is fantastic. I mean, fantastic. Not is informal. It's not. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but that's what is sustaining us. Do you understand? It's not percentage of GDP is just 5%. In Europe, it's like 41%. The international average is like 25%. Right? We are sustaining ourselves by the way we trade and we interact with each other, right? So we are keeping ourselves. We make more money from foreign remittance. Even the president said it about last week, talked about foreign remittance. We make more money from foreign remittance than from oil. Our biggest export is our people. Now, we have a dynamic people. We have a hardworking people. Those things can never, I've never said anything contrary to those two things. Hardworking, dynamic, yes. But there are so many we don't address. Internal trade in the whole of Africa is 16%. North America, it's 45%. South America is between 45 and 65%. Europe, Asia, those are the boundaries. 45 to 65%. Africa is 18%. And now, as bad as everything is, we shut our borders. The trade we had with our West African neighbors was really, really something. I don't have the figure of head, so I don't want to say anything that was wrong. I used to have it in my head, but it's not there anymore.
About $4.7 billion.
I won't, you know me, Habib, if I don't have the exact stuff,
Yeah.
I'm a precise person, so I don't know. Maybe that's it. Well, it's a lot, and we've shut our borders for God knows how long. What policy was? What are we trying to do? The truth about it is this: the shutting of the borders, the one port. Do you know it's cheap to take a trailer from Tin Can to Alaba than to ship it to China? And we think that we can do better than ShopRite.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. That's the truth. Was one of the most expensive ports in the world, the most expensive turnaround times. Those are issues we need to address. It's not about $28 million. $28 million, I don't know. If somebody loses it on the stock market in a day, they'll even notice. There are metrics. There's a global economy, and we need to wake up to it. Globalization is real. And the sooner we admit
globalization is what has pushed the world to the point where it is right now, but it also has its downsides, which we'll not go into.
Just like capitalism, just like marriage.
Yes, exactly. So we'll not go into that topic today. That will be a topic for another day. And as usual, we've overrun our time, and it just seems as if we were just starting a few minutes ago. So Richard, I want to thank you very much. On a closing note, you refuse to say, what it was that you thought, but I will make a deduction. You don't have to acknowledge, but from all intents and purposes, the points that you have made so far is that we have a policy gap issue. The policies are a problem, beginning and end of the entire story. We appreciate you coming on the show tonight. We appreciate you trying to give us a little insight and breaking it down in a way that the layman, the average person can understand. As usual, we're looking forward to the next time you come on the show. You have a great night. Thank you very much for coming on. All right.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night.
So, interesting conversation with Richard Okojevoh. Even though it seemed like we're just starting and we've been on for like well over an hour, we, of course, as usual, always overrun, but we enjoy it. So far, you're getting the type of content that we hope that you're getting, which is some good quality content. We're fine with that. Now, on the issue of content, we have looked at several indices, the kind of stuff that's coming out, the policy from NBC, or rather from the Ministry of Information, and the NBC even has its own issues with it. We've looked at the issue of the hate speech and all whatnot. We looked at the challenges that all this is going to create going forward. It's not going to stop us, because what we are trying to achieve is a situation whereby the average human being can have a voice, can speak, and if you have an issue, what they have said, you can easily counter it. That's what communication is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be one directional. We hope at some point, the government of Nigeria would have a look at it and try to, amend some parts of those policies that they have just rolled out for the benefit of everybody. We personally here at FromRadio.com, we have quite a few things that we're rolling out in a short period of time. It has affected some of the things that we wanted to roll out, so we are going to have to take a step back from it. But still, we're going forward with a majority of it. So probably in the next week or two, we're going to be rolling out our mobile app. We have looked at the challenges of data and all that, either the quality of the data or the affordability of the data. And we have worked continuously day and night with our technical partners. They're called Waterspace. So you can check them out at waterspace.com, where they're like Wix. A lot of people would have heard of Wix and all that. So it's you have a website builder, so you can do it yourself, or You can get in touch with them if you want to build, an e-commerce site, or you want to build a website, or you have a mobile app or something. You have an idea that you think you can bring, into the digital space. You can always get in touch with them. So we've been working with them, tirelessly day and night to come up with a solution that will be beneficial for everybody across the board, because we want to be able to get this, our content to you wherever you are, especially on your mobile devices. So the mobile app that we're rolling out is something that takes about 70% less of the data that you use on a standard app. This is to make sure that you are able to access the content at the most affordable rate. Also, some parts of the of the app you can actually view offline. Why we did that is so that when you're online, you have access to data, you get the full benefits. But if you're offline, you will still be able to get some benefits, because you will still be able to access some of the content on the platform. So we want to thank all our partners so far, because they've done a fantastic job in supporting us, in trying to drive us to the point where we want to be. We moved much, much faster than we ever thought that we would at this point in time, because when we first started, it was just supposed to be a test run and to see how things were going to go. But things picked up really fast. And we're very, very glad. We're very, very, elated that we've gotten the type of support that we've gotten, both from the technical partners, from our producer, our production team, our producers, from the entire team, from formerradio.com. We are grateful to the water space, like we said earlier. We're grateful to Color Media. We're looking forward to rolling out, phase 2, like we said, next week. And once we do that, I'm sure you'll have a much greater time being on the formerradio.com platform. So on that note, we'll go to our social messages, which we always close with. And they start with, COVID-19 is still real. You need to keep a social distance. You need to wash your hands. And you need to at least wear a face mask when you're going into a public space, especially when the public space is an enclosed space, like going into a supermarket or going into public transport, that kind of stuff. Try and wear a mask. You're not just protecting other people, but you're protecting yourself. There have been spikes in different places where they have reduced the lockdown status. And it has become worrisome in some places, as in some countries, the lockdowns are going to go back from all indications. So in order for you to keep yourself safe, be advised that you follow those 3 steps. Wash your hands constantly, wear face masks when necessary, and keep a social distance. 2 meters is the recommended distance to keep for you to be safe. And then we'll also go back to the issue of rape. Unfortunately, there was an issue recently in Ireland where I live, where a Nigerian man, was convicted and was sentenced to 15 years for raping an aged person. A very heartbreaking situation. But it goes back to the message that we've always tried to pass, which is you have to look after your vulnerable ones. So the vulnerable ones are not just children, they're also women. And then there are women of all ages. All ages. And like we maintain over and over and over again, if you don't have healthy women, you can't have a healthy nation. If you don't have a healthy nation, then you don't have a safe place to live. We all have to be very careful. We have to monitor the people that are around us, especially the vulnerable ones, kids, male and female. Over 25% of females in Nigeria, for instance, have experienced sexual abuse before the age of 18. 10% of the male population have also experienced sexual abuse before the age of 18. That is a lot. That's 1 out of 4 women, and that is 1 out of 10 men. Let us be careful. Let us keep a watchful eye. We're going to be introducing somebody somewhere along the line. It's going to be a show that you are going to be able to reach out to the person The person is a certified psychiatric worker. She will continuously be giving indications, tips on how to look after your vulnerable ones so that we can have healthier nations, healthier societies, and healthier families. We hope to see you on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to be talking money again. This time, how you can make money. You have a pleasant night. Have a great weekend ahead. And we'll see you on Sunday when we're talking about money with a great friend of ours who knows all about money, especially when it comes to e-commerce. You have a great night, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thank you very much.